Even despite the result being as large as it is for Labour and so on, you still see that bristling with the party duopoly on both sides, sometimes for more positive reasons than others, which we should get onto now, actually, because one of the interesting, some of the interesting upsets for Labour over the course of the past 24 hours have been where even some of their leading politicians were turfed out. Sometimes it would be because of essentially pro-Gaza independent candidates. In other situations, it was Greens, but who were also very much running on the Gaza question. But I just stick with those independents who are basically challenging Labour on the Israel question, but also very much trying to play into, in many cases, a kind of sense of Muslim identity politics, very much targeting that community. It's been interesting to see how poorly Labour have done in constituencies where there is a sizable Muslim population. Is this something that is depressingly looking like it's going to become a feature of British politics, this very kind of sectarian, sectional approach to trying to get yourself elected?
Yeah, and obviously at Spite, we've been talking about this for years, but there was a couple articles in the media on it, but there wasn't really that much scrutiny. And many of us have been talking that for years, if you constantly encourage religious, racial and cultural minorities to see themselves through the lens of said identity, but also say that the fundamental prism for which they should engage in politics is through grievance, then that inevitably is going to have a consequence. And actually, I was, before even this election, looking at some of the videos of some of the candidates, and many of their videos were all Muslim individuals in Islamic dress. Oftentimes they were speaking a different language, and it was all about religion a lot of the time. It was like, this is, you're doing this for God, you're doing this for all of these different things that, was clearly not trying to speak to a broader British audience. And, everyone is entitled to organise politically for concerns that they care about. But it's the way in which it's done through this identitarian lens, which has very much been encouraged by our institutions. And the tragedy of it as well is that I feel a lot of Muslim voters are being let down. When it came to the issue of the Israel-Palestine conflict, really in the election, the Labour Party have chosen to avoid it and really created a vacuum for all of these other individuals to have these very absolutist views. They could have made a passionate case about actually, why, if they wanted to support Israel, they should do that. And this is the best way to get peace in this particular scenario. But rather than do that, they either cowered, or we saw Angela Rayner going to a mosque and exaggerating the things that she was doing for the Muslim community in order to appeal to them in a very religious lens. And I think this is letting Muslim people down as much as the rest of us.
Also, the dishonesty with which Labour has addressed the sort of Islamist problem means that they deserve what they've got in those constituencies. Jess Phillips in Birmingham and Yardley got her majority quite severely knocked, but still came out on top. And just quite remarkable scenes during her acceptance speech. She was shouted down in a really quite grotesque manner, constantly shouted down, and by men, she said. And the way in which she talked about it on Twitter afterwards was, men were shouting me down. It wasn't just men. It wasn't just like your average guy in Birmingham Yardley. It was a group of men from that particular constituency who were pushing for the Gaza vote, who, as she even said from the floor, "Oh, you don't like a woman, standing up for herself." And the fact that she can't there's a cowardice about identifying exactly why those particular men from that particular section of society don't like women being forthright, just means that the issue will never be addressed. And I think that kind of cowardice has really bitten them. I mean, I spoke to a cab driver about a week ago about who was from Bangladesh, about which way they were voting in Bow and Stratford. Rushanara Ali also had her majority quite severely challenged by the independent there. And he was just quite upfront and said, well, it's a vote for Palestine, but also we don't like what they've said about what Keir Starmer said about the Bangladeshis and asylum seeking and all that kind of controversy that happened. But there was, you had people standing outside Rushanara Ali's kind of campaign trail with kids shouting in megaphones, "Shame on you, shame on you." And at no point did any Labour MP turn around and say, "Hang on a minute," and have a row. They just pretend it's not happening. Yeah. And so they deserve it.
And as you said, and I completely agree, they have actively, promoted this idea of a Muslim community leader that is often, very socially conservative, and elevated them to very high status when it comes to various different social and political conversations about Islam, immigration, integration, all of these kinds of things. And this is really just the logical conclusion. You know, and I just think that Labour, it is clear, will still not confront this issue. If anything, you know, he has promised to supercharge the whole Islamophobia definition into law and other things, which is essentially going to chill discussion on many issues around this area. So it's likely going to accelerate.
The only upset to this trend, of course, is George Galloway, who I am delighted only had 54 days in Parliament or whatever it was.
That was a very nice one to see him packing amongst a load of Portillo moments, if you can count it as that. But it does feel depressingly like Galloway-style politics is very much baked in, not least because the Labour Party has spent so long practicing it, you know, appealing to voters, as you suggest, on the basis of their cultural, religious identity. And even the Tories have been caught out with that a number of times in recent years. Even in this campaign, you had Mario Longhi, who was caught drawing attention to the fact that his Labour challenger had a Hindu Indian name. All caps. You know, you can tell what sort of games are being played there.